Block 1, I don't know if you have read or not. Block 1 is, so this paper is about the different components of personality. In this paper, we're going to read about the theories of personality. So the name of the paper is Personality, the Theories and Assessment, right? So we will try to understand what are the different theories of personality and how we can assess personality from different uh, psychological tools, be it objective or subjective, be it projective test or objective test or self-report measures or psychological tools. And we also have projective techniques also, objective tools, subjective tests, and many other tests. We'll see that in detail also. All the theory and assessment has to be done. And in block 1 you will see what are the different theories and how assessment is going to be done. And then in block 2, the different theories of personality. In block 3, again the different theories of personality. And the last, we are going to talk about the assessment of personality. So this is mm, the agenda for MPC 3 paper. Today, as you can see, we'll start with block 1 only. And it's a very interesting reading. I think you would love to read. After reading MPC 1 and 2, you might have, I think even MPC 2 was very interesting. MPC 1, there are various theories of intelligence. That one, you have to put in more effort in that paper. But I think you might have enjoyed, and at the same time you're going to enjoy MPC 3 as well. So this paper, in this paper, that is definition and concept of personality and personality development. How What is the definition and concept of personality and how personality are developed? That's what we're going to see here. And personality development, and since I would also request you all to you all guys can also talk about these topics, because it is something which is not new. It's our day to day, it's present with us. You also have, like everybody, you deal with people, right? So this paper will also help you to understand and understand different personality at your workplace, your friends, your the partner you have, the partner, the many friends you meet in your lives, your family members, your partner, your siblings, your people at your workplace, young kids, those are working with school. So children, what kind of personality they have. So I think in this way you'll be able to understand lifespan development and personality together. Okay. So uh, so the concept of personality, it is something understood in terms of social attractiveness. A good personality is something who impresses other people and who has the ability to get well with others. So those who are able to gel well with others, they have a good personality. So they possess personality which has who has some attractive personality, and they're able to attract individuals. So in psychological term, we can provide why people you know in personality, how in terms of social attractiveness, what are the two inadequacy, because of two reasons. So it limits the number and types of behavior considered important and worthy for the incorporation into the study of personality. And such a notion implies that some people who have unique abilities, temperament, and traits are devoid of having a personality. So, one second, somebody has joined. So these are some definition of personality. And when it comes to definition, it has been derived from the Latin word meaning persona, which means mask. So these are also some of the definition. And then when it comes to operational definition of personality, we can refer this by um, Lockhorn and Murray 1953. So psychologists have attempted to explain the concept of personality in terms of individuality and consistency. And we often observe that people differ a great deal in the way they think, feel, and act, and that two different or even same situation. So you might have seen, even though we individuals, we all are human beings, but like everybody has their own intelligence, individual differences. So when it comes to individual differences, everybody has their own unique personality. So personality, again, it is something which cannot be same in some or the other way. It could be similar, but not always. It's not same. Again, it differs from individual to individual. So that's what people have tried to understand personality. And when you have to understand personality, you have to understand three characteristics: the thoughts, feelings, and action. So thoughts, feeling, and actions, they are considered one of the important behavioral components to identify, to identify that could make differences between the individuals. So behaviors that are viewed as primarily caused by internal rather than environmental factors, and behaviors are the person seem to have organization and structure. So thoughts, feelings, actions, behavior, all this is something which governs an individual's personality. Then another definition, Alpert, Gordon Alpert, a very important name, a very famous name in the field of personality. So even he has given one of the theories of personality, and they have tried to explain that what personality is, how behavior changes, what is the nature of behavior, how it is dynamic in nature. So according to him, he defined personality as the dynamic organization within the person of the psychophysical systems that determine the unique adjustment to one's environment. So this suggests that there is an inner personality that guides and directs individuals' behavior. Alpert, the man who has done more than anyone to shed light on the myriad meaning of the term personality. So he has given more than 50 definitions of personality, and then tried to explain all the components of personality in one definition. But apart from Alpert, we also have various other, like Raymond B. Kettle and many other psychologists who have tried to explain what personality is and what the definition of personality has been explained by them. I hope my screen is visible, class. The PDF.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So,
Yes,
what are
ma'am.
your take on? What is your take on personality? What do you think? What personality is? How do you define your personality?
Good morning, Miss.
Yes, good
I
morning.
believe I believe it's a combination of one's thoughts, words, dress, and body language, which are unique and distinguish you from others.
Okay, great. Yes. So that is what one of the psychologists have also talked about, that it is the result of our thoughts, feelings, and action. Then yes, that is one of the definition. And through this paper, you will be also able to understand your own personality also. So first of all, in order to understand other individuals, you need to understand your personality before, and you need to understand what kind of individuals, what kind of individuality you have, what kind of personality you have, how it is affecting your day-to-day living, how you adjust with people, how you people adjust with you. So all this, from this paper, you'll get to know.
Miss, if I can say, one
Hmm.
of my takeaways from the reading uh, is that personality shouldn't be confused with character and temperament. That's one of my takeaways, because I always thought that, even though they're a part of, I always thought that personality was temperament, and character. But that has been cleared up. Even though character and temperament are a part of personality, it is not personality. So that
Yes,
was one of my
exactly.
takeaways.
Exactly, a very important point you have mentioned. They are not personality, but they are part of our personality. There are various different components of personality. So, from that, we can see there are certain characteristics of personality, the biological factors, psychological factors, and environmental factors. You might have seen that everybody might be 30 plus, I'm guess, over here. So, you might have seen that we have changed over the period of time. The kind of person we were, the kind of personality we exhibit when we were young, and then the kind of personality we exhibit right now. So all these are something which are situation also, which are environmental also, right? So let's see what biological factors are. So for biological factors, body build, physical attractiveness, homeostasis, physical defects, health conditions. So all these factors, they affect our personality. They are responsible for our personality development. So first one is body build. So the kind of body structure we have, that is responsible for our personality development. So for the first one is ectomorph. other one is endomorph and the mesomorph. And we don't have a picture, but I'll show you a picture right now. Just a second. Okay, so can you see this in this picture?
Yes, we are seeing this.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So this is one type of ectomorph, then mesomorph, and then endomorph. So this a very thin body. As you can see, it's a very flat and thin body. So these individuals. So according to research, again, I'm quoting this studies and not giving my explanation, but this is something where the individual's body is straight and flat, and they belong to the category of ectomorph. The next is metamorph. So they are thin, but at the same time, they are on the upper part, they are heavily built. A muscular body, we say this is a muscular body. And then endomorph, they could be more of, both muscular and fat, both could be the result in this endomorph personality. So based on this body types, personality were defined. And so we can, when we talk about an ectomorphs, so these people are a person who are tall and thin in their body builds. They have generally found to be superior to endomorphs who are round and soft body builds. The superiority is especially in speed and endurance. Likewise, mesomorphs who are strong and muscular in their body builds have found to be superior to both ectomorphs and endomorphs in activities like speed and endurance and agility. So based on the body types, psychologists, yes, scientists, they've tried to explain what kind of how superior they are on their body builds. So more and this individual, those who are muscular metaphors, who are strong and muscular in their body, they are more superior. So these individuals, they're, like I mentioned, they have muscular body, they're thin, at the same time they have muscular body. So they're not sluggish and not lazy, they're always active, and then they have a high speed. But for these individuals, they could be superior, they could have a high speed, but at the same time they're sluggish sometimes. And these individuals are considered to be, less superior from other body types. And sometimes they are mostly, they are less involved in activities also. So again, the kind of explanation provided by the psychologist, we have seen that for body build. So next, physical attractiveness. So coming to physical attractiveness, no doubt, if any individuals, a lot of research has been done, and people, people are attracted to physical. They are attractive to attractive people. People get attracted to attractive people, no doubt. And it is there are many research that has been conducted that by Brislin and Lewis that. It is very rewarding to be for someone who is physically attractive, no matter whether whatever position they have or not, or whatever education they have, it doesn't matter. But if somebody is physically attractive, individuals around them definitely get attracted to them. So this is one component. And homeostasis. So homeostasis, as it's a very general term, even in for biological systems we talk about this. So it is something where our body temperatures, our blood sugar, our blood pressure, but water balance is maintained. So when there is disequilibrium, or when there is disturbance in our personality, or indirectly, then we lose our temperament, and then we're not able to relax in the environment. So homeostasis is very important. To maintain a balanced personality, you need to maintain your temperature, your blood sugar, your body pressure, blood pressure, and your water balance in your body. So that's one thing. So otherwise, disturbance could lead to some hormonal discharge and hormonal imbalance also, that would also result in your personality. That could affect your personality also. Then physical defects. So the first scientific study showing the impact of physical defect upon personality has come from Alfred Adler's theory of organ inferiority. So today there are many studies which has been conducted to examine the direct and indirect impact of physical defects upon personality. So if obesity or handicap, or if anyone individuals who have certain kind of physical defects, they are not considered to be physically attractive, and their personality are not that attractive to individuals. So or certain health condition also, if If we have a poor health, we're not, I mean, people, they don't get attracted to us and they'll not include us in certain activities. So it's very important again that we maintain our diet and our balance, balanced diet is there, and we maintain our body structure. Um, then next is psychological factors, intellectual determinants, your intellectual, your emotional, your IQ and EQ should be balanced. So that would also contribute to a balanced personality. Then next is self-disclosure, aspiration, and achievement. So all this, you have to understand what you're, like I mentioned, you also have to understand what kind of individual you are, how well how well do you know yourself. So all this helps you to understand your personality and your aspiration, what you want to become, what you aspire, what are your achievements. All this affects the personality development. Then intellectual determinants definitely are IQ and EQ, all we should be able to manage conflicts among ourselves, among our family members, or balance should be there, both EQ wise and IQ wise. So that's what they're talking about. Then excessive love and affection. So it is Sigmund Freud. He has earlier cautioned that too much parental love and affection awakens a disposition for neurotic disorder in young children, and it spoils the children and make the individual a problematic adolescence. So if you are very protective, overprotective with your kids, they could be spoiled. You might have heard about the term spoiled brat. Then all this personality, all these factors affects the individual's personality, right? So again, this topic will talk about your self-esteem, maintaining. We, like you remember in lifespan paper also, we talked about self-esteem, high self-esteem, low self-esteem, what kind of individual you are, what actually you feel about yourself. That one has to be maintained. Then your aspiration, your achievements. To you need to avoid failures and achieve success. All these are talking about these factors. Okay, how many of you are good at goal setting and then later on you are not able to achieve your goals?
Yeah, sometimes you may have drawbacks and you're not able to achieve it in the time that you want to achieve it.
Yes. So to to build a very strong personality, you need to work upon your goal setting behavior also. For how long are you setting short term goals or long term goals? Are you able to achieve it or not? Or if you fail, and then, because what happens when you fail in your goal setting behavior, then that would lead to low self esteem and low confidence. So it's very important that you build very your goal setting behavior should be up to the mark and you achieve your goals when you set them. Then the environmental
Oh,
factors.
Miss, that means we have to set realistic goals.
Yes, realistic goals. You have to short-term
Set
goals.
goals of reach.
Yes, realistic goals, short-term goals, and even if you set long-term goals, also it should be realistic. So, for example, if I want to become a NASA scientist, I cannot become. I can become, but I don't have that kind of education. I'm not interested in astronomy or something. So we have to set. Yes, you're right. Realistic goals has to be set. So that will help you to mold your personality. Then environmental factors, how your personality are built, the social acceptance. You might be knowing, so those individuals who are bullied, or those who have low acceptance in the family, or those who have not been looked after their family members, they don't feel socially accepted even when they grow up, and then they turn their lives into social isolation. Then social deprivation. So poverty in India, we have talked. I mean, we have a paper on poverty, how poverty has governed the individual's personality. So it's not just India, but it's in many of the countries, and in many, I think it's universal for any individual's social deprivation, the kind of opportunities that is available in the society, in the community. It's very important. So social deprivation also molds our personality. Then next is educational factors. So definitely educational factors. Earlier we used to, we might have seen that children would go to school at the age of 4 or 5, but now kids are going to play school. Before that also, being 1.5 year, they go to play, I mean, some kind of crutch, and then they're looked after and they're taught some kind of activities. So education also plays a very important role to that could affect your personality. And then you as a student, we are molded by our teachers, and that also mold our personality. So that's what they're talking about. Then family determinants, our family, our elders, our parents, our siblings, elder siblings, all this, they they mold our personality. They have so here is an example also. Living with parents who are anxious, nervous, and lacking the sense of humor produces in the children a sense of nervousness and frequent outburst of temper. So likewise, living with warm, affectionate, loving, and interested parents generally produces a social and gregarious persons. Such persons also develop an interest of welfare and affection for persons outside the home as well. So this, as you can see, how family determinants are important for the development of personality. Then emotional climate of home and ordinal position. You might have seen many parents who, they emotionally abuse their children, and then whenever there is a problem between the parents, one of the child, all the emotional baggage is thrown on one of or one on one of the child who is the responsible, who is one of the most responsible child. So there are various studies, you might have seen this. The elder child is very responsible, or either they become very responsible, or either they become very aggressive at the after some time. So our birth order also in the family also affects a lot of our personality, because elder children, they have more responsibility, or maybe they would look after the younger siblings, and all this also plays a very important role. And when there is just a single child, many studies are also done that it's difficult for them to cope up with others. And but when there are many children in the family, and then when they share their responsibilities, they're very good teamwork workers in their workplace or something. The various studies, you can see them. And size of the family also, if we have a small family, that's better. Otherwise, longer family, though a lot of adjustment could be done. They have a very loving individuality, I mean personality, but at the same time, size of the family also affects the personality. So, and then we have another study by J.B. Watson, so father of behaviorism. And then he had empathetically proclaimed that give him a child, he will make him either a doctor or a beggar or an engineer or a thief, irrespective of his abilities. So J.B. Watson, uh, he believed that we individuals are the product of our environment also, though it's physical, biological, psychological, but it is very much, we are very much product of our environment and situation. So he challenged, and then he says that if a father is an engineer, it doesn't mean that the child would also be an engineer. He said that give me some kind of children, certain children, I can make them whatever I want, you know. So he claimed that, and he claimed that our personality is the determinant of our um, environment. So as you can see, the formula, physical development is equal to physical determinants psychological into psychological determinants into environmental. So all these factors are responsible for our development. What do you say, class? What's your say on this from block one?
Ma'am, I think, ma'am,
Mm,
for example, right?
mm,
Most of these has to be theories because, for instance, the ordinal position in the home. It says here, studies have revealed that the firstborns tend to be more conforming, dependent than laterborns, and they even said that the firstborns who achieve greater success than the laterborn siblings tend to be selfish and self-centered.
mm,
In some cases, I don't agree with that because for some people it might be like that, and for some it might not. They may be very caring, loving, as you said,
mm,
always caring for their other siblings and so on. Because for me, for example, I'm a firstborn, right? And I've
mm,
never been selfish or self-centered with any of my siblings in terms
mm,
of my achievement or anything. I'm always like I play a mother role to them.
mm.
So
Yes.
so in these cases, some of these are they're theoretical, right? So I
Yes.
guess it depends on the environment and every other determinant. And for me, I kind of agree more with the environmental aspect of it because before I used to be an extroverted person, and now I tend to be more introverted based on, what has happened in terms of COVID, and I've
Mm,
grown and matured and so on. So I think everything is very theoretical and everybody behaves a different way based on
Yes.
different determinants in their life.
Yes, yes, it does. It does. So you can see that you can find certain studies. Always, you can find certain studies and prove your evidence. But these are some general descriptions. You can either read them and then find some new studies, as they're very old studies from citing from 1974 and 1963. But still, you can have some kind of notes and some kind of studies, recent studies that has been conducted. Even I wouldn't agree that being a first born child is selfish. No, we are very responsible, and then yeah. So now let's understand what are the factors that is. Yeah, so what are the trait state or what are the trait approaches to personality? So there are two approaches to personality. One is the type approach to personality, and the other one is trait approach, as you can see. So in trait approach, there are certain characteristics that has been mentioned. So don't get confused. We'll try to see this in trait approach. We have psychologists like Gordon Alpert. So he has given this Alpert's trait approach. And then Kettel's trait approach, we'll see his approach to personality. Then trait and type of hierarchy. So the extrovert, aversion, introversion, psychotic, all this. Then Guilford's trait approach, and then the last one is Big Five factor model. So these are the topics that we are going to see in here. When it comes to type approach, like we have seen the previous one, based on the body type, psychologists have Sheldon tried to explain what kind of personality we are going to exhibit. So we have already seen that William Sheldon, a US physician, he tried to explain that our physique is related to temperament. So the kind of body structure we have, that would um, that would govern our temperament. So we have already seen that. But before that, we also had Hippocrates, a Greek physician, and then he classified four exclusive types. So he was a physician, so he talked about basic internal fluids or humors. So the first basic fluids would be the blood. So our blood, then phlegm, and black bile and yellow bile. So all this, based on this, he tried to explain our personality. So he mentioned that those individuals whose personality, dominance of blood produce sanguine temperament. So these individuals, they're always cheerful and active. So dominance of phlegm would produce phlegmatic temperament. They're apathetic and sluggish. Then those with black bile, they produces melancholic temperament. They are very sad and brooding. And the dominance of yellow bile, that produces irritable and excitable. So they are based on the fluid in our body. He tried to explain the different type of personality. So now, right now, it's not very evident. I don't know how evident it is. Not much. He was the person who had talked about the fluids that is present in our body, and then based on that, we show different kind of temperament. So that's what you can see. And then we already talked about this, the body types. And next we have MBTI. So this Myers-Briggs type indicator. So the theory was based on the typology that was given by Carl Jung's theory of personality also. So MBTI, he talked about four dimensions. These two individuals, they talked about four dimensions, and then they constructed a test also. There is a test. I'll show you that later on. As in the assessment part, we can see that. So they talked about that individual would be either extrovert or introvert. But there are some studies that individuals could be either ambivert also. And it depends on situation also. Sometimes are very extrovert, sometimes we are very introvert. So it depends. But these are some studies, the previous studies. The next dimension is that he talked about sensing or intuition. So some individuals, they have a very strong intuition. Some they sense what is going on around them very quickly. Then next is thinking and feeling. Either people think a lot or they have a very strong feeling about certain things. Then judgment and perception. So the next one is judgment. Either they're very they know how to judge what is right and wrong, or individuals with perception, they always have perception, pre-perception about certain things. or rational thinking or rational judgment. They have a very good rational judgment, or irrational perceiving, or social biasness. We'll talk about this also. So this, based on this four dimension, he constructed his own theory, and then it was known as the Myers-Briggs type indicator. So you'll have to read them. These are very short description of the theories. You can read them in detail. You can download the original papers and read actually the theory behind them, the background behind this theory, how they constructed it. And Carl Jung's theory, definitely we're going to read them in detail also. So based on, we can say that this is the description of MBTI. So all this, they are type approach, that they have given a type that we are either this or that. Based on this, we could be this or we could be that. So that was the type approach, one of the name that has been given. So today psychologists prefer to describe people not in terms of types, rather than in terms of traits. So now we also have trait approaches to personality also, and some theories we can say. So the first one is Albert's trait approach. He talked about cardinal traits. I know he talked about two major categories of traits: common traits and individual traits. So common traits are something which is common in every individuals, and individual traits would be something, common traits could be like warmth, affection, kind-hearted. These are very common traits. It could be there in some individuals, or it could not be there, right? But there are some individual traits which only one individual will possess, and you'll see in their. It's not that in one individual only you'll see it. You could see that in many individuals, but it's there. So that's what they're talking about. So common traits are traits which we share in common with many others in our culture. So for example, being quiet, showing due respect to seniors, and making polite behavior to others are the traits we share with others in Indian culture. Individual traits are also called personal disposition, are those traits which are unique to the person concerned, and Albert regarded the individual traits to be more important than common traits. So these two traits we are going to see. Now, individual traits have been so in common traits, as you can understand, it depends from culture. It could be something which is very common in culture, in different cultures. Coming back to individual traits, so there are three types of individual traits: cardinal traits, central traits, and secondary traits. So for cardinal traits, it is something which is very pervasive in an individual's life. It's very pervasive. It's very dominant, and then it's outstanding in the individual's life. So you might have seen certain individuals. So cardinal traits are something which are very, which could be abruptly seen in the individual. So like Mahatma Gandhi, who was his cardinal trait would be peace-loving behavior. Like Mother Teresa showing kindness and affection and love. So the cardinal traits, can you understand? These traits were very dominant in this individual's life. Why do we know Mother Teresa? For what reason do we know her?
Kind and peaceful, loving.
It's right. So the same is for Mahatma Gandhi also. So these are something around which their life has revolved. For Mahatma Gandhi, it could be non-violence. He achieved independence following this trait. The next is central traits. So these are traits which are generally listed in a carefully written letter of recommendation. So when we write recommendation letters for the students, so or maybe when, for example, I have to assess you all. So I might be knowing some of the students, and then if I have to say if I have to take your names and assess your personality, then I would be writing whether you are friendly or dominant, you're self-centered. So these are something which are found on the individuals, again in the individuals, but they're not that dominant. It is something which is there. For example, so what kind of central traits you have? Can you assess that? Like friendliness,
Yes.
dominance, self-centered, or
Yeah.
do you have any central traits? I'm sure everybody must be having it.
Yes, ma'am. But they say everybody
Yes,
will
miss.
have at least 5 to 10 of outstanding central
Yes.
traits.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm
for example,
friendly
you
and
have a
kind.
friend who, yeah, you might be having a friend who has always been very friendly to you, or somebody in your class also. Maybe there's some individual who is always ready to help, so helping nature, that could be the central trait for that individual, because everybody is feeling the same for that individual also, for that individual, right? So that could be one of the central traits. I hope you're getting it.
Miss Heather, I can ask a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can
Yes,
you
yes,
can your
please.
traits relate to the environment or the situation? So you will react differently based on what's happening or the environment in which you are.
Sorry, can I get your question again?
Saying that some persons may have a friendly trait, a dominant trait,
Uh,
or self-centered, whatever the situation may be. However, can this be based on the environment? At one time, because of
no,
what's
no,
happening
no.
around you, you were friendly, and okay,
No, that is not environmental. It is
and then
there
another
only. It is
time because
always
of what's
there.
happening,
Yes, it is always there. No matter whatever happened, still the person is the same.
you still will have the same trait.
So
Okay,
Miss, we're saying
Mm.
that it's innate. It's something we're born with.
born
Yeah,
with,
born with, or
basically.
it is some, see, to become a, to have a helping nature, you might have seen from your elders, but still it's always there. You might have certain individuals, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, miss. But then
When
what
it
I'm trying to say is that if somebody come to you aggressively or whatever, it means that you may react differently. If somebody comes to you nicely, you can be friendly. And so that's what I'm asking, if the environment has anything to do or the situation has to do with how you will respond.
Yeah, so when it comes to environment, we can say they're secondary traits. They are more of environmental or situational based, we can say. So, like our food, our habits, our hairstyle, or specific attitudes. This could be our situational, and it depends on the motivation level, the kind of motivation level we have. On that, it could depend. So, secondary, it could be more of situational, but central, it is there. It is there, something which is always there. So for me, like I cannot say no to anyone. If somebody has approached me for help, for any kind of help, I'll be ready to help always. So that I believe that is one of my central trait. But secondary could be, my, for example, my food. It depends. I'm an vegetarian, but I don't always eat egg. It depends whenever I want to eat or not. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, miss. Thank you.
Okay. So we have another Ketel's trait approach. So Raman B. Ketal, this person also, he talked about personality, and then even he distinguished it was it quite similar. His surface trait and source trait. These are the two traits he mentioned: surface trait and source trait, and constitutional and environmental mold traits, ability, temperament, dynamic traits. So the surface trait and source trait were quite similar again, as you can see. So the something, so the kindness, the honesty, helpfulness, generosity, so these are the surface trait which is visible. So when you see an individual and when you meet them at your workplace, so there might be certain kind of personality, right, which you see in them, so that are known as surface trait. While for source trait, it is something which is the underlying factors in the individual personality, and it is there, but it's not that much visible in the sense that it is always there. So, for example, intelligence is an example of source trait, and every one of us possess this, but we all do not possess intelligence in the same amount. So, source trait could be something which is present in us, but it could differ from individual to the individual. So that's the surface trait. One of the surface trait is source trait is intelligence. Though intelligence also can be visible, but it's not that it's always visible. We can show our intelligence through certain activities or something. So that's one factor. Then we have 16PF. 16PF, you're in your MPCL 7 also paper, you're going to conduct this test also. So MPC, Ketal, he found a 23 source trait in normal individuals. And then he came with 16PF, the questionnaire, and they are known as, in the individuals would be either reserved or outgoing, less intelligent or more intelligent, emotional or stable, humble versus assertive, sober, happy-go-lucky, expedient versus conscientiousness, shy versus venturesome, tough-minded, tender-minded, trusting, suspicious, practical, imaginative, forthright, shrewd, placid, apprehensive, conservative, experimenting, group-tight, sufficient, casual, controlled, relaxed, tensed. So these are the some 23 source traits which he found among individuals studying different personalities, and then he constructed his 16 PF questionnaire also. And then based on this, we will be able to understand what kind of personality we have, and then uh, you know either are we do we follow under the category of normal or are we neurotic, you know. So this is what he talked about, and his 16 PF test could also questionnaire this. It is applied to diagnose psychopathological traits also, like hypochondriasis, jetfulness, brooding, discontent, anxious, depression, energy, euphoria, guilt, and resentment, and many other factors you can see from here. And yeah. So this was one factor. He talked about source and surface trait. Then he also talked about the constitutional and environmental factors. For constitutional and environmental factors, for constitutional traits, he talked about that something which is more of biological, which for which we are born with, and environment, as you can see from the name, something which we get from the interaction with the environment. So that's what they're talking about. So he also studied both heredity and nature. He said that both heredity and nature build our personality, constructs our personality. That's what he wanted to mention in these factors. Then ability versus ability, temperament, dynamic traits. So our ability also impact our personality, our temperament also. You know, we have different kind of temperaments. Like either we are very moody or irritable or easygoing, and dynamic could be like our attitudes, our urges, our sentiments, the kind of sentiments we have. And then ability would be in like different situation, how we react, our goal setting behavior, how intelligent are we. So that is the ability trait. So based on, he also talked about personality. Then next we have Ising's trait, Ising's personality questionnaire. So even he has constructed EPQ, and then he talked about either the three dimensions of personality. Either we are extrovert or introvert, either we are neurotic or stable, emotionally, either we are very stable or neurotic, and then either we are psychotic or are we or someone who would be able to control their impulses also. So please read them. They're very interesting to read, and so there are very certain tests also that could measure psychotic behavior in individuals. So if we're very insensitive to others or very hostile, and then if we become very cruel and inhuman, then these are some psychotic behaviors, and this could lead to psychopathological traits as well. So that's what Ising studied. And then some other theories is the inhibition theory, then arousal theory. We will see them. Yeah. Just a second. Okay, so next one is inhibition theory. So Ising, he developed another theory known as inhibition theory, and then he tried to explain that why people who differed along with various dimensions should behave differently from one another. So he has tried to provide evidence to the central nervous system also. I mean, when we are extrovert or introvert, this personality, I mean, they have some evidence in the basic origins of this cerebral cortex also, of the central nervous system. So based on our and biological factors, we our personality gets governed or gets developed. So we also have some other work from Teflov and Pavlov. So Ising pointed out that extroverts have relatively strong and inhibitory process and very weak excitatory process. So inhibitory process and excitatory process you'll get to know when you study neurotransmitters. So there are neurotransmitters, either we release a lot of neurotransmitters, so those individuals who are extrovert, they have a very high these individuals, they would release neurotransmitters in their brain in a large manner. And those individuals who are stable or introvert, they have a very low or weak inhibitory process. So that's what they've mentioned. So in this inhibition theory, Ising also tried to explain that how are the kind of neurotransmitters that has been released on brain governs our personality. So that's what they're talking about. Then, okay. Then arousal theory are ascending reticular activating system. So this also it also contributes to the kind of personality that we possess. So our thalamus, the lower brain system, thalamus and cortex. So all this also affects our personality system, and the higher the release of certain neurotransmitters in our brain, the we could be more extrovert and more neurotic and more psychotic. So that's what he has mentioned, providing evidence to the providing and giving evidence in the biological system. So you can read this. Then even J.P. Guilford, he, like, if you remember him, he has talked about intelligence also. Then for J.P. Guilford, he also came to the conclusion that there are 7 modalities of traits like morphological, physiological needs, interests, attitudes, aptitudes, and temperament. So these are something. The first 2 are the somatic traits, and the last 2 are the behavioral. So somatic is something which you can see in the which is not visible through their personality. Okay, so morphological and physiological are something again somatic, and they are somatic in nature, and the rest they are behavioral, like our needs, interests, attitudes, aptitudes, temperament. They are behavioral aspects. So this could be seen in your behavior, but the first 2, morphological and physiological, they are something which is present in the uh, body. So that's they've talked about. And so our again the morphological we have seen this ectomorph, ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph. So the description, even he has even JP Guilt supported the evidence that the kind of body structure we have, it governs our personality. So physiological would be the heart rate, breathing rate, hormone levels. The kind of hormone levels is uh, released. So as you can see, there are various hormonal changes that takes place in females, and that is why they are more prone to certain kind of psychological illness. So it is. There are certain studies that we female have to meditate and exercise a bit more than the male counterpartners. So all these factors, yeah, so all this physic, head size, length of hand and leg, the structure we have in our body, that governs our personality. So he has taken evidence from Sheldon only. It has been mentioned there only. Then needs, interests, attitudes are all this also govern our personality, because though it is situational, but this is how our personality are also governed. Temperament, so there are certain biological traits of temperament, general activity, inactivity, all these factors are mentioned there. You can read them once.
Ma'am, excuse me.
Yes,
For
yes.
somebody who asked the question just now, I think it was Nalini. If we look on page 33, we'll see on the temperament, Guilford
Mm.
had pointed out 3 levels of trait generality, hexic level, and he gave an example. There's an example here. For example, Mohan, who is generally shy and reserved person, may show
Mm.
dominance and aggression before his friends for winning the competition. So this is situational. So
Yes, it is
this
situation.
yes. So maybe
Yeah.
that would answer the question for
Yes.
Nalini, because this is a
Yes, it is
type of trait.
situation.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Then next is a big five factor model. So again, extrovert, neurotic, either you are extrovert or so those individuals, those who are extrovert, here are the characteristics that has been mentioned. So sociable, talkative, active. They're neurotic. So these individuals, they're very moody, irritable, and nervous and insecure. They could also suffer from hypochondriasis. So all this, either if you score high and low, so that's what they're talking about. Either you're neurotic or emotionally stable or unstable. That's what they're talking about. Then conscientiousness, I'm not able to pronounce this ever. So if you score high, so you are more working, reliable, responsible. But if you score low on this, you're unorganized, disorganized, unreliable, impulsive, irresponsible, lazy, and negligent. So this is also one of the personality. It's very famous. Big Five, as in personality, Big Five personality questionnaire also has been constructed. Then agreeableness. So again, high on this could be individuals. They're very soft-hearted, good-natured, trusting, helpful. Otherwise, they could be cynical, suspicious, uncooperative. And openness, they're very warm, sympathetic, cooperative. Otherwise, they're very cold and hostile. So score could be either on high and low. You score either high or either low. So that's how the personality has been. This Big Five personality dimension has been developed, and they have defined the personality. So by Macri and Costa 1990, and then many other evidence are given to this. You can give a rating to them. And these are the summary of all the theories that we have studied. So I think I would request you all to read them and then come up with questions, because these are, uh, until unless you read them and then you don't have questions, then it doesn't make sense. You have to read them and then come again, and we can have then some questions. Coming to assessment of personality, so these are some of the very famous theories of personality which we have seen. Now the assessment, like I mentioned, there are various methods to assess your personality. One is the interviews. We could take interviews. Then another one is projective techniques, association. We have this in-block technique test, behavioral assessment. So I can, now we can talk about interviews. I'm sure you know about interviews. If you want to know about certain individuals, you can construct a semi-structured interview schedule, or unstructured semi-structured, or semi-structured or semi-structured, sorry, unstructured or structured interview schedule could be constructed to take interviews. So this is interviews, one of the technique. Various research are done through the interview method, and then thematic analysis, content analysis, or qualitative research methods are done to analyze the data. But when it comes to projective techniques, I'll show you some projective techniques, some videos on projective techniques, and some videos on in-block techniques. So
हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल स्टडी विद गुरुकुल। एंड आज हम पढ़ेंगे अबाउट
this is in Hindi, just a second.
मम्मा, आप ब्यूटीफुल तो रोज दिखती हो, पर आज आपकी ब्यूटीफुल स्माइल का राज क्या है? संतूर संतूर, क्योंकि आप संतूर साबुन के साथ कोलगेट टूथपेस्ट फ्री।
I think we should explore a few solutions.
Grammarly suggestions catch when
Friends, welcome to my channel Nursing Study.
Just a second.
Hey, it's Dr. Isom. I'm back to give you the next. Could be that the experimenter might be asking you to draw a picture. They might just say,
Miss, your screen is not being shared.
Yeah, I'm just sharing just a second.
Okay.
draw a picture of a person. What those all have in common is that there is no clear-cut answer. There is no particular interpretation that is correct or more right or more wrong. And so it's believed that when the subject is responding, their response contains parts of their personality, their thoughts, their emotions, their experiences, what a person's personality is, and also things like depression, anxiety. After the subject has responded to these ambiguous stimuli, the next step is for the clinician, who has to be an expert in analyzing these kinds of tests, does an analysis of the content of the person's, what the researcher does, or the personality test to base their can be really illustrative as well. For example, my youngest son was giving this assessment at the Kremen preschool on campus, and his kinetic family drawing had me, the mom, and the dad all standing in a row with otherwise. So to talk to you about it. And when you're paying someone to administer
I think I'll show you the pictures only because the videos are very long. I'm not finding small videos.
ये बिलीफ है कि यहाँ पे सेतु बना था। क्या इन पत्थरों से हुआ था राम सेतु का निर्माण? Corals also explain the floating stones. Was this even possible?
Not all personality tests involve answering statements with strongly disagree or strongly agree. Some personality tests don't even use words to reveal what you're thinking. In this video, I'm going to be talking about two of the most well-known projective tests, the Rorschach test and the TAT, also known as the Thematic Appreception test. These are more abstract tests that are still used today to dig deeper into our own personalities and reveal some of our more serious conditions. So, first of all, what are projective tests? Projective tests are personality tests that aim to look at what is happening beyond the conscious mind. Tests that ask us to evaluate ourselves require a lot of conscious thought, and these thoughts may be biased by how we want to perceive ourselves, or maybe what we might be ashamed to admit. The answers to projective tests often seem silly or unrelated, but only because it's revealing a deeper unconscious thought process that you're probably not aware of. Now, if you complete a projective test yourself, you might not be able to directly pin the results to our personality or symptoms of a mental disorder. That is a therapist's job. And while projective tests may face criticism, they are still widely used by psychologists and experts, even in the criminal justice field. So let's take a look at how the two most well-known projective tests are and how they work and what they can reveal about your personality. Let's start with the Rorschach test. What do you see in this ink blot? The Rorschach test has been around since the 1920s. It's named after its creator, a Swiss psychiatrist named Hermann Rorschach. He originally created the test to diagnose people with schizophrenia. Now, the test didn't really gain the widespread popularity it has now until around the 1960s, when the movement towards uncovering the unconscious started to take off. At first, these ink blots were completely random. The therapist had 10 cards and showed each one of them to the patient, and then asked the patient for what they thought about the card. What did the patient see? How long did it take the patient to share their interpretation of the card? If the patient saw a dog or an explosion or a friend in these ink blots, the therapist would then have to decipher what those interpretations meant. The specific ink blots that professionals use today were created with more intentions than just Rorschach's original 10. In 1961, a psychologist named Wayne H. Holtzman and his colleagues created a second set of inkblot tests. These contained 45 cards, and they offer therapists 22 elements to consider whenever they're scoring the test. These elements include the time it took to respond, the amount of sexual content in the patient's answer, and any amount of bizarre thinking behind the response. Patients who do not have a license to administer the Rorschach test may have a hard time deciphering their answers, but a local professional may be able to help you through an inkblot test and tell you what your answers say about your personality, and maybe what you're hiding under your unconscious. The second type of projective test is called a thematic apperception test. The thematic apperception test, also known as a TAT test, is a second type of projective test that is still being used today. This test is almost as old as a Rorschach test. It was developed in 1930 by psychologist Henry A. Murray and psychoanalyst Christiana D. Morgan at the Harvard University. This test was actually developed as one of these psychologists was actually studying the book Moby Dick. And in the novel, two characters look at the image of a doubloon and see two different things. The author then uses their interpretations to reveal information about each character. The thematic apperception test works in a similar way. Therapists pick a selection of black and white cards with ambiguous scenes on them. Then they show one card to the patient and ask them to create a story around that card. Patients then must talk about the backstory, talk about the feelings of each character in the story, and then come up with a resolution. And all of this can reveal quite a bit about what the patient or the person is thinking. After this test was originally created, professionals used the TAT to help veterans and other patients recover from traumatic events. And even a few decades later, business leaders and personal development experts started to use this test to evaluate a person's career aptitude and their potential skills in the workplace based on their mindset. Unlike the Myers-Briggs assessment or other types of personality quizzes, projective tests can be hard to complete online. It would be hard to type in an entire story online and automatically get back an accurate response about your personality or your potential mental disorders. As we make advances in AI, this might get easier, but there's no algorithm yet that connects every potential response to an interpretation. Rorschach tests may elicit common responses, but TAT tests have an infinite amount of answers. When Murray originally created the TAT, he would use a scoring system that would look at very specific sentences in a patient's story. He had a list of 48 elements that he would identify and score based on its role in the story. Since he created the original scoring method, 7 other scoring methods have also been created for the same test. What I'm trying to say is there's no magic deck of Rorschach or TAT tests that you and your friends can use to assess each other's personalities, at least not that accurately. If you're interested in taking projective tests, you should probably reach out to a therapist in your area for an appointment. This is the best way to guarantee that you get accurate results from a certified professional who can actually explain why your answers reveal certain elements of your personality. Now, there are actually other types of projective tests. The Rorschach and the TAT test are only 2 types of projective tests that therapists and other professionals can use to help assess personalities. Other examples of projective tests include the house tree person test, free association and word association, dream analysis, and also filling in incomplete sentences. The process of taking projective tests can actually be more fun and exciting than taking a standard personality quiz where you can only agree and disagree with other statements. Projective tests can definitely open up doors that you might have been unaware of before. As I end this video, I want to let you know if you enjoyed this video, feel free to go ahead and watch some of the other videos in this full personality series. I put a lot of work into it, and there's like 21 total videos, I think. And also, if you want to learn more about your own personality, you can actually check out my free 3-in-1 personality quiz in the description below. What it does is it combines 3 of the major
Yes, class. So these projective techniques, again, they are something. So the very famous of them are TAT, and as you can see in the video, the names are mentioned. And we have TAT, Rorschach, and many other. So I'll show you some other pictures also. And they're asked by the therapist to, after seeing them, you have to write a story, and then the analysis are done. How the analysis are done, it's not something which we can learn as soon as possible. I mean, for this you need a proper training, and I don't want to give you an incomplete information on that also, and it's not possible to. I mean, many workshops are conducted just on one test. So if you get a chance in future to learn through some seminar workshops, then you can learn them. But these are some tests which are there, and it would be very interesting to read them. I think if you should definitely devote some time to read them. and not boring like some other tests. They're very interesting in the sense that you should devote some time. That's what I wanted to say. And with this projective techniques, they understand the underlying psychological issues, right? So you might be not aware of it, but you write whatever you write the stories, and like we have sentence completion test also. So here are some example. I feel very what I wish my mother. So whatever sentence come to your mind for the first time, that's what you have to write. Then there are limitations also. There are certain limitations about projective tests, and one of the most important limitation is that there are many flaws. I mean, every individuals they could give different description, but like for 16 pf we have the manual, and on through the manual, using the manual, we can come to a conclusion, and the reliability and validity is very high. But for projective techniques, we don't have reliability and validity. How reliable it is, how valid it is to use to understand psychological issues. But it is used in the sense that therapists and psychologists would use them and come up with the analysis. But again, it has to be done with a proper expert. I mean, the expert, it has to be done by expert, and non randomly we cannot do that. So please read them, and then we can take some questions on that. But I hope you'll be able to read this. The TAT, I can show you some pictures on TAT. So these are some pictures which are given to the to the individuals, and then you write a story. Based on the story, your analysis of the personality is done. These are some pictures which are given to the individuals. There are many. We have adaptation for different countries also. For India, we have, and otherwise the original one was constructed by Murray. All these are the pictures. And for Rorschach also we have Rorschach in block test. So these are the pictures that are shown to the participants. So they are cards. Actually, you give at least 10 cards to assess the individual's personality. And it's very important to give one blank card also. After giving some cards, it's in Rorschach in block test, one blank card is also given. And then you ask the individual to write a story on that blank card. Not on that, but you have to see that blank card and then write a story. So there are certain various description of this. Some would say it's a butterfly. Some would say it's two elephants are there. Some would say, bat. It's a bat or something. So every description is not there, but yes, this is how the analysis. I mean, you are shown this card, and then your participant would write the story, and the therapist would analyze it. After for at least 10 story has to be analyzed. And 10 cards has to be given, actually. Is it clear, class?
Yes, miss.
Yeah, so you read them, and even in this, I mean, reading also, you'll not find the interpretation. It's just that some proper training is required for this. So then we also have Holman's in-block test, TAT, sentence completion limitations are mentioned, where that is the reliability and validity, and that's one of the most important limitation. And predictive ability is very less for this, so yeah, that's why we don't use much. Otherwise, we have behavioral personality inventories like MBTI, Ising Personality Questionnaire, California Psychological Inventory, 16PF Questionnaire, and then MMPI-1, MMPI-2, all these tests are there. And there's certain limitation for this also, but the reliability are very high for personality test. Now, what are the key issues? Key issues in personality. So the key issues in personality is that there has always been a debate between do we assess, which is the dominant factor in individuals? Is it the nature or the nurture? does our nature governs our personality, or the nurture or the hereditary factors governs our personality? So it's always a debate. You can read here, some debates has been mentioned, the nature and the nurture, the debate on nature and nurture. Then twins, another debate is that why twins they behave in a, even if they are twins, why they don't behave in the same manner. Then zygotic and identical twins, in some of the factors are quite similar in identical twins, but in fraternal twins they are not same. So it's a debatable question. Then infant shyness. So, another study was conducted to uncover the reasons behind why some infants are open and responsive to attention, why some they take more time. Even if you talk to them, they will not be interested to talk. So, what are the reasons for this? Why personality? It's a debatable question. Why some infants they are high, and there are some they don't have, they open up to every individual very quickly. Then some have antisocial personality disorder. What is antisocial personality disorder? Why
The network is
some
there.
acts very hostile? Yes. Mhm. So antisocial personality could be result the kind of the environment that has been given to us, the kind of nurturance that has been given to us by our parents. Then there are certain family studies also. Family has been done, how both the parents they are very well off, but there are certain individuals who have adapted antisocial personalities, and they behave very differently from the parents, even if they have a very good environment at home, but still their personality has been very hostile when they grow up. So that is one of the debatable question in personality and studying personality. Then the person situation controversy, how our personality is governed by a situation. So many, as you can see previously, we have seen that many psychologists they believe that, especially the central trait and the cardinal traits, they believe that psychologists like Albert, they believe that we have this characteristics which is going to remain stable in our lives. But why there are certain individuals that because of the personality they would become they would have certain psychological issues and psychopathological issues later in life because of the situation. If we had certain traits in us, then why it has changed during the situational based problems. So that is also one of the controversy. Then behavioral consistency controversy, why again, if those personalities are there, then why don't we behave in the same manner? Why it is situational, quite similar to situational behavior, situational consistency controversy. So there are certain studies we could be honest, we are honest, but sometimes we have to be dishonest in certain situation. Otherwise, if we just remain honest in everything, I mean, people they you might be heard saying your elders that you could uh, hide some kind of lies to protect someone from some pain or something. So why behavior changes from time to time? Why? From it depends on situation also. Then interactionist approach to situation versus person debate. So interactionist, if you remember, we talked about in lifespan paper, we talked about that everything is innate. If it's innate, then why we change our personality according to the situation and according to the person we are, or the kind of person we are. So another experiment, there were certain one experiment was conducted by Stanley Milgram, and then it was known as electric shock generator with so this why we obey to someone who is superior. So we'll see this in experiment also right now. It's a very interesting one, so I'll not explain, we'll see there so that you have a very fresh mind for that. And then nomothetic approach versus ideographic approach. So through what method should we study personality? So that is also a debate. Should we study the hereditary? Should we study the culture, or should we study the past history of cultures, or what actually should be studied to understand personality? So that is also one of the um conflict in understanding personality or issues. Then cross-cultural issues. So they're different. It is believed that there are different individuals, there are different cultures, there are different after every like in our country we have lots of various different cultures and environment. So how is it possible to study every culture? Though if culture is dependent, if a personality is dependent on culture, then how it is possible that we get acquired to another culture and then we adjust according to the culture? So that is also one of the issue. personality and personality factors, this 5-factor. If that's the case, if we have 5 factors, there are certain factors also which is across, which is visible across the cultures. So yeah, extrovert, introvert, it's a very common thing. Again, now the question arises: if we are culturally different, then how are we able to understand that either we are extrovert or introvert, or open or agreeable, or you know we accept things, agreeableness, consciousness, openness, all this, how it is possible? So these are some questions that is coming. You can read them and then get answers to various other readings and studies and research paper. Then coming to issues related to theoretical models. So there are certain theories which has been given by some very famous psychologists like Freud, and many other names are there. But how it is affecting our personality, it's not that we should always agree to them, but psychologists have believed that we can apply the eclectic model to understand personality. So we can apply different models to understand personality. It's not just that only one. Like, you remember the ectomorph. If I don't know how many of you would agree to this. If you read this, you might find a little absurd that based on this we are lazy. You might have seen people who belong to endomorph, and they're very active, and they're very, you know, they're not lazy in life. So you might have seen that. So you might disagree with this,
Yes,
right?
Miss, I read some what's on this theory, and
Hmm.
in my readings, they're saying that this theory has been discredited.
Right.
Yeah.
So you'll find them, you'll read them. So these are some issues in personality topic. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Now we can play
Good
obedience.
evening,
Experiment. Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. I'm fine. Sir, how are you? Hope you're well now.
Fine, fine. Yes, ma'am. Fine. Thanks. How are the classings going on? Sessions
Yes,
going on?
it's going well, I guess. Others, they will tell
Oh,
students.
okay.
Um, I was showing one video now on Stanley Milgram's obedience experiment. So
Okay.
I was just about to show that. Hmm. So
Okay.
you wanted to discuss something?
Yes. Any student? If some students asked me for the assignments and the assignment submission dates, I think that
Hmm.
that issue has been resolved now. If any student wants to share any feedback about the assignments and assignment submission dates, I got a message from few students that they were not having the assignment question paper, and then some issue was regarding the assignment submission date. Yes, if any dear student, if any feedback, you are most welcome, please. Please switch on your camera and share your feedback.
Dear students, if you have any questions regarding assignment, come on. Last 2 weeks, we have been bombarding with assignment questions, and now no one is showing their interest when servers was not there then.
Yes.
Well, sir, I think it has been cleared up. Well, for me, I understand what has to be done. I understand the date of submission. I understand it has to be handwritten. I understand I got to start working on it now. So sorry, I don't have any question really.
Yes,
No, file is the thing that it has to be typed or written. It has to be written, not typed. We don't take typed assignments. It has to be written.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Namaste.
Namaste, sir. Good morning to the others. Sir, thank you so much for posting the assignment. We're looking forward to completing the objectives, each objectives. Sir, I was diagnosed with a chronic capsulitis, which is an inflammation of the capsule around my fourth joint, the thumb. And from time to time, when I do a lot of writing, it will act up. I would well, periodically I will get some physiotherapy done. Is it possible for my exception to get it written, typed out, sorry, instead of written?
Yes, I will try for that. You please do one thing for me.
Yeah.
Along with your medical prescription, and if you have any test reports regarding this thing, then you please give me one application on this matter that you need exception from writing the assignments. In your, give me an application attaching the supporting documents.
Okay, sir.
Then I will approach our IGNOU authorities for seeking exception for you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, any other student, if any one of you wants to share any feedback or any observation or any suggestion. Can you please switch on your camera for a minute for me so that I may be able to take a screenshot?
Yes, sir, we're here only.
Yes, I request all of you to please switch on your camera for a minute, please. Dear students, please. Please let me have a group photograph, group screenshot. I think it is a very beautiful Sunday morning there at Guyana this time. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes. Namaste.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Namaste. Namaste. I request all of you to please switch on your camera for a minute so that I may be able to take a group screenshot.
Almost here, sir.
One student has written that his Namaste, Namaste, God bless you all, Namaste. If your camera is not working, then no issue, no problem, please, no problem.
So I'm having
But if your
issues with
camera
my
is
camera.
working, then
My phone.
yes.
I have to use my phone.
And
Yes,
thanks for adding me in your WhatsApp group.
Namaste, sir. My camera is also working.
Yes, namaste, namaste. It becomes my duty to thank you because we consider our students as our family members. So when you allowed my entry in your WhatsApp group, that is a very thankful act. I am thankful to you for this act of kindness. I'm thankful.
Sir, we have a question from
Now,
Natasha. She's not able to access the assignment.
Why? What type of problem are you facing?
Natasha, can you please unmute yourself and speak on this so that your query can be resolved?
Okay,
Natasha, please speak.
Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I am sharing the PDF link here in the chat box. Please give me a minute.
Sure, sir.
Yes, I have posted it in the chat box.
Yes, I received.
Yes, you please download your assignment question papers from this link. This link has the same question papers which have been posted on your LS portal. Your laptop camera is not working. No problem, please. No problem. No issue. No issue. So, dear students, you can download the assignment question papers from this link which I have posted in the chat box. Yes, one student has raised his hand. Yes, please ask. What is your question?
Yes, sir. It's just a question of importance as it relates to the assignment with the paper that we have to use, the writing paper. It was stated that we have to use the A4 paper, or we could use any other paper as it relates to the documentation of the exam, of the assignment.
Yes,
just give me some clarity on that, please.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Actually, although there is no as such a hard and fast rule, but A4 size paper is always preferred because it is a standard paper size, A4 size, and in each and every type of official proceedings, official communications, we are using A4 size paper only. So it is better if you use A4 paper size. It is always preferable. Kindly use A4 size paper. Okay.
I didn't hear you clearly, sir. Kindly rephrase what you were saying.
Sir?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, but I didn't hear exactly what is it you said in regards to the paper in which the assignment should be written on. Could you repeat for me, please?
Yes, please. I am repeating it. It is always preferable that you should use A4 size paper. A4 standard size, and in each and every type of official proceedings, in official matters, we always use A4 size paper only. So it is recommended. It is recommended for you all that you should use A4 size paper only. It is recommended. It is highly recommended.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and
yes,
senior.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Avinash has raised his hand.
Hi, good morning. Namaste, sir and miss.
Namaste.
I have one question.
Yes,
concerning the assignment. I see that all of the assignments have one submission date, and I was wondering if we will be getting any feedback on the assignments. For example, we do the first assignment, would we get feedback on the first one so that we have a way of knowing how to change our approach and tailor our approach to doing the proceedings?
Yes, this is a very good question you have asked me. Actually, let me clarify this point. That from the university side, you have been given one date for the submission of all 6 assignments. It is 30th of September 2022. But I will request, it is my personal request to all of you that you please do not wait till 30th of September. You can set your own target in consultation with your academic counselor. Your counselor, madam, is also in this present session. She is listening to us, and I will request her also that, madam, kindly guide all your students that they should not wait for the submission of their assignments of MPC-1, 2, 3 till 30th of September.
Thank you.
You all can set your own targets up to 30th of June. It is our own mutual understanding. It is our own personal mutual understanding within the classroom, within this batch. You all please set your own deadline. It will be better for you all. You will enjoy this decision. You will like this decision. You will enjoy this decision. Sorry? Yes, please. Someone wants to say something. Okay.
It seems like she's talking. Seems like some other person.
Okay. Let us decide for ourselves that we shall complete our assignments of MPC-001. This course has been completed by Madam. MPC-002, this course has also been completed by the Madam. And now your MPC-003 counseling sessions have begun from today itself. And I hope that within the next 4-5 sessions, Madam will be completing 003. So you please set your own personal target. You all should set your own personal target that by 30th of June, you all will be submitting the assignments of your first 3 courses. Then your burden will also be shared. Then only 3 courses will be remaining, 004, 005 and 006. And the assignments of these remaining 3 courses, then you will be having enough time for you. With you, then you will be having July, August and September with you. So you can divide your, complete the assignments of first 3 courses latest by 30th of June, submit those assignments and give enough time to the Madam for evaluating those assignments and giving you her feedback on your answers. That will help you a lot. So thank you, Mr. Avinash, for asking this question and raising this question. And this query has given us an opportunity to set one target and to decide a very good plan of assignment submission and assignment evaluation. Thank you, Mr. Avinash. Thank you for this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Shrija
I have a
Joseph.
question. Yes, sir. Namaste.
Namaste. Yes, namaste, please. Namaste. Yes, please.
Yeah, so my question is in regards to a rubric. So for the assignment, of course, the university would have to use a rubric in order to mark this assignment. So in order to guide us so that we can know or we'd be able to achieve our maximum marks, is it possible for us to actually see how these marks are allotted?
It is stated
yes,
on the assignment.
It's stated
Yeah,
on
Madam,
the assignment.
Madam, would you, yes, Nirupma, Madam, would you
Yes,
like to
ma'am.
guide her regarding this query?
Yes, we
What
can
are,
do that, but I
Madam,
think, yes.
Nirupma, Madam, let me rephrase her question. Let me explain what does she want to know. Let me explain it in simpler terms. Actually, her question is regarding what are your expectations from your students? How should they write their answers so that they may achieve the highest mark? So
Okay. I'll definitely share that format in the next class.
This is a very beautiful question. Yes, this is a very beautiful question. Shreja, yes, you are sharing some pic of your kid. Hello, please say hello from our side.
Hello.
Hello.
What's your name?
His name is Elias.
Okay. Hello, beta.
Hello,
beta.
Elias.
In India, we call beta to our son. We call beta to our son, and we call beti to our daughters. Beta and beti.
Nice.
So your son, I am addressing him, your son, as a beta. So hello, beta. Hello, how are you?
Yeah. Also, I have another question. He's only 8 months old. I guess he's just seeing movements.
Okay. Our blessings are with him. Thank you.
Yeah, so I have another question. It's in regards to...
Please wait. Please
Sure.
let Madam explain. Please let Madam reply your first query first. Madam, what are your expectations from your students?
Yes, so class, if you remember, before also I mentioned that you can always talk about, first of all, if your question is for 20 marks or 15 marks, you can start with the definition, the operational definition. So for example, let's take the example of today's lecture on personality. So if I ask you what is personality and explain the big five personality model, so you can start with the definition, to at least one or two definition of operational definitions of personality by some psychologist, famous psychologist, and then you can give your description on what personality is, what you feel personality is, and then you can provide some studies also, one or two, not mandatory, but still you can, if you write one or two studies, that is better in the current scenario. And then you can come up to the model. If we talk about the big five personality, so what actually it is, you can start with the definition, the history of the model, the history of the theory that we're talking about, and then you can explain them one by one. And if there is any graphical presentation, you can mention that also. And then the art of writing answers in psychology is that you always write critical evaluation of any theories or of any answer. If you have been asked, critical evaluation, limitations, advantages and limitations, its implication in the current scenario or a future implication. So these are some pointers which you can keep in mind. And next time, I promise I'll get one answer also from my previous students. I'll share the format, how if somebody who's written very well, then I'll share that so that you can have a look at that. Okay.
Yes, Sreja, now you can ask your second question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miss. You've cleared up my
Yes, operational. I'll write in the chat box also operational definition, the theory. Then next is the advantages. Limitations. Critical evaluation. And future implication. If this is for 15 marks. Otherwise, if it's for 10, 15 or 20 marks, you can follow this format. And also you have to keep in mind in the exams also, you have to you don't have to waste your time. Don't write in such a manner that you write your answer, you're spending the whole time writing just one answer and then wasting your time. You should divide your time, that for 30 minutes you're giving only to question number one. You have to divide your time also in that manner. And if it's for 5 marks or 2 marks, then you can just write the definition and the theory, and you can briefly mention the advantages and limitations. And when you write critical evaluation, future implication, these are all research based. So in-text citation and research based evidence should be provided over here. For this, you can refer
Good
the
morning,
APA
Miss.
website. So studies. Yes.
Hi, Miss. Sorry to bother you. On the note of citations, right now, I know it's more than one way of citing whereby what somebody would have said. Could you give us a little bit more insight as it relates to us having insight on persons who have stated certain things?
In-text citation.
As in terms of us answering our assignments.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's in-text citation. So if you remember when we were reading the notes, there are certain evidence. Like the name of the researcher, like Murray 1957. So they are known as in-text citation. They're the evidence that has been provided or citation has been provided. Don't go with in-text citation. That is, and we are not typing your assignment. So I mean, you're not writing a research paper, but just the evidence from where you have taken. So the name and the year of the researcher has to be mentioned. So citation has to be mentioned. Yes, Charmin?
I think you understood. I was going to say, I think she wanted to know in terms of which reference style we're using, because you have the APA reference style in terms of citations. I think that's what she was asking.
Yes, that is what I was asking.
We follow APA 7th edition.
Because I wanted to know that too.
Yes, APA 7th edition. That's what we're using now. I mean, even
APA 7th edition?
Yes.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you, Miss.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions?
I think that question answer session is over now. Perhaps any other student has no question. Thank you, dear students. And madam, now I have to take your leave from you, and I would like to now sign out.